Okay, welcome everybody, and those online and those in the room. We'll get underway with the karakia meeting. Okay. Welcome everybody. Okay, we have apologies today for lateness for Asif and another apology for Fire Road. I'd like to move that they be accepted. Second. Before we get underway, just ask for any declarations of conflicts of interest.
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that's later on the session, but the first session will be fine. Okay, but thank you for that. Anything else can come up at the time when it comes along, comes out and hits you, you can do your declaration then. Right, declaration of appointment. We have first up, we have Marie Haley representing the Rākaihautū Civic Trust. Speak to us. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you, everyone. So, again, for those online, strangely private, Marie Haley, the chair of the Rākaihautū Civic Trust, and coming today to speak about the Beacon Meats side. And first of all, I want to thank the board for your strong decision to ask staff to go back and ask more community feedback on the Beacon Meats site. I'm a bit cold. But yeah, so it's wonderful that that happened, that we had the workshop at the Gaiety and that the staff, and yeah, so I also want to thank the staff for coming back to the community and engaging and what appears to be listening to community feedback so far. So we're grateful for that. And the Civic Trust wishes to endorse the managed retention plan. And we asked to be directly involved in the management plan that's written for the Beacon Meats site. And the Civic Trust believes that this planning process for the Beacon Meats site is a part of the Rākaihautū Spaces and Places plan. And it's actually just the beginning of the planning processes that are needed for Rākaihautū. We ask for an updated parking plan as well, and climate adaptation planning is an absolute priority for Rākaihautū. That was part of our submission for the Beacon Meats site, and part of the reason that the Civic Trust wishes to see the Beacon Meats site retained in the meantime with managed retention, so that we have that time to have a climate adaptation plan, so that this community can get on with its planning and move forward. The Rākaihautū Civic Trust also asking why the Rākaihautū Design and Appearance Committee no longer meets. It's part of the planning process that Rākaihautū needs. That committee hasn't met for several years, and when we have asked Mark Stevenson, the head of planning at council, they say it's up to the planning team to refer those on to the Design and Appearance Committee, but it's not good enough. Nothing has been sent to it for years, so please ask for information around that. I see that the community is largely in agreement on feedback with the Beacon Meats site, but it's now time to ask for more ideas from the community, and it's time now to have more discussion about what the community wants to see from this site. As you probably know, the community has a very low level of trust in the council at the moment. And this is due to council spending years consulting with this community years and years of voluntary time that goes in from the community in consultation, and then have those plans shelved. And so this community is pretty worn out of volunteering and this consultation that goes nowhere.
Just a warm on time, Lily.
Yeah.
Thank you.
About 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
You want fast, quick?
Not, or 10.
Sorry?
10 or 10. Yeah. Oh, sorry. This is sometimes due to staff turnover. New staff taking on projects halfway through, which is really frustrating for the community. We also acknowledge it's partly due to the earthquakes and COVID, but APRA always feels forgotten. It always feels like Christchurch gets back up and running, and then APRA's planning comes back out. So the APRA Civic Trust asked the council to continue this good start with communication and dialogue, that we asked for open two-way conversations. And we thank the staff for this more open communication that we have had on the BPMate site. That there has been more updates in APRA Mail, there has been more communication coming out. It's a good start. We want to see that continue. There's no APRA-based staff for council. There's only the library and service centre. It's an issue in this town. And APRA Civic Trust recognise the importance of this climate adaptation planning. It is especially important because of the lifeline of this vital road that connects us to Christchurch, where already 4 times this year the road has been closed due to weather events. And in a town, a rural town where all of our services are in Christchurch, this is very important. So I've still got 5 more minutes.
Is that 2 minutes?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, we did 1 quick.
2 more minutes to go for this. So this vital lifeline with the main road, which has been closed 4 times already this year, all of our services are in Christchurch. So closing the road causes severe disruption to this community. Our dentist appointments, our hospital appointments, our specialists, school events, sports, swimming lessons, banks, lawyers, flights, everything is through Christchurch, as well as the image it has on this tourism destination when the road is closed. So climate adaptation planning is integral to the BPMate site. This is not a separate issue. And the Civic Trust is taking this climate adaptation planning very seriously. So that will be our topic for our AGM this year. We've invited council staff to come and present on their data and their predictions. This will be on the 1st of November. So we invite you all to come. And today we asked the board to approve managed retention, but being cautious that this is just the beginning of communication. And we asked the community board to fight hard for Peninsula to be the next place for climate adaptation planning.
Thank you very much, Bert. Any quick questions? No, there's a number of things in there, right? And I think we are still on a journey process, so thank you very much. Okay, Victoria, please.
I'd like to thank everyone for their work today, staff and the board and the councilors. It's always a long process in terms of consultation. And I'd like to support the Civic Trust submission. I think it's a very rounded, full submission touching on all key points. And I know considerable time and effort have gone into the proposal for BPMate in recent years, and my involvement goes back probably about 25 years on that site. And I think there could be a degree of improvement made with regard to consultation. And there is the syndrome of burnout amongst the community. But there are issues that are critically important to us. Adapting to climate change, number one. And then the wharf, I think, is a very important item, as is BP meats. So I think it's important that we all take the matter very seriously, and I think the community does, even though they have been through round after round of consultation. But, you know, looking back, I don't think anyone in the community was necessarily voicing an opinion or wish to see BP meats developed or sold. That seems to have come from a different outside source. There has been ongoing concern over the years about the degree of neglect on the site and the lack of maintenance for the butcher's building, which hopefully I've seen some minor work going on over there, so I hope that will be dealt with in due course. And it has been a degree of tidy up on the site, which is also appreciated. But within the general context, I don't think there's been enough emphasis on the point that Akaroa has a large portion of its central township registered as a historic area. Heritage has been mentioned here and there, but that designation from 1999 is quite significant, and it needs to have due regard. And I think it's important that the council uses its internal resources to the maximum. And that includes the heritage team and the other council expertise in getting the whole situation in due respect. And Kent Wilson is a senior planner for Banks Peninsula. I think he's still with council. He's like the #1 resource in terms of what needs to be done in terms of the heritage values. And I think the first report coming from BP Meats in the recent communications, the emphasis was on commercial activity and the need for growth and more retail space and activities for tourists. But to me, that seemed to be lacking to a degree when many businesses are struggling at the moment, and there is, to some degree, ample retail space available. So I don't know if that report was done with thorough due diligence. And with regard, and I don't want to step on any toes here, but there was a point in the staff report for today's meeting that felt like it was important to open up the street frontage on Rue Laveau, to open up, to give a passageway to the pedestrians and to open up the back of the site. And I think with due consideration, the addition to the butchery building could be removed, but that requires a degree of research with the heritage team and other aspects of the council. But if you really want to open up the visual aspect of that site, the removal of that little temporary building, which has been refurbished as a successful shop, at some point should be considered, because that is your major obstruction in terms of visual access to the back of the site. But that's not mentioned. And I would like to have that considered in the course of this consultation and further discussion. Now, there was a directive or a resolution from the committee towards the start of this consultation phase, and you asked for a community meeting with members of the public to discuss BPs. That converted into 2 workshops at the Gaiety on a Thursday afternoon for 2 hours each, at a time when most people are at work or picking up children from school. In addition, holiday homeowners, people who live in Christchurch, would not have had much of an option to drive over for a 2-hour meeting. That eliminated a lot of people from participating. And the other key point about that particular workshop that I attended was the PowerPoint presentation, the 3 proposed development areas, the proposals were not shown on the screen. There were pieces of paper on the table which had those outlines, but it was hard to actually have the time to look at them thoroughly. And at the end of the PowerPoint presentation, we were told not to ask questions. Jim Kruger did get one question through, which was, what is a community hub? And nobody could really answer that, so Nigel very kindly stepped up and explained what it was. And it was good in the fact that we had tables and we had council staff that we could speak to directly, but there was not that exchange of information. And when I queried the council about it, the response I got back from the council was they decided on a community workshop so that everyone could be heard in smaller groups and had the ability to talk about the topics that were important to them. We've received feedback that in more traditional town hall question and answer meetings, some residents feel uncomfortable speaking up or that a few people dominate the conversation. We hope and have received some positive feedback to this effect. So I just think it's still important in this upcoming phase of consultation that we, in fairness, have the option of a community meeting, because I certainly want to know what other people are thinking, and I changed my mind. I mean, that dialogue is very, very important, and if you get a good chair, someone of the respective David Miller, I think you would have a very positive meeting. But the council would have to cede some of the control to allow that to happen. But I think a public meeting on a Saturday when people are free to attend is what is required. And I don't see that coming up. There is a mention of another meeting.
2 minute reminder.
It's 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know, we've got 2 minutes left.
Okay.
I think we better.
So you will be facing a decision this afternoon, and as Marie has said, I think we managed through the workshops to get the major points across, but I think consultation needs to be in the public domain in a public meeting, because submitters who made submissions in good faith have not been allowed to have any kind of exchange or dialogue. A few of us in Akaroa can show up. A lot of people have to make the effort to get over here. So there are online alternatives. There are various forms of feedback. So anyone who does not feel comfortable going to a public meeting have the option to still participate. So I would urge you to ask questions and pursue that further, just for further clarification, transparency, and public accountability. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Any quick questions? Also, the knowledge Lynn Leslie, the normal chair, is with us. Otherwise, yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Victoria. Points well said. Thank you.
And I do appreciate your time and effort. I don't want to be too critical, but I think there's a room for improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Always. Thank you. Okay, we have one more coming up. Leslie, Leslie Sales. Thank you.
First of all, I apologise that I haven't been to any of these previous meetings. I've seen them, but my partner died in April. I've been busy sorting that. My strong feeling is that Akaroa could use the Banks Peninsula meet site for social housing. Now, I can see that Akaroa might be trending towards the way that Queenstown and the Wanaka went, and all of the houses in Queenstown and Wanaka got bought up by people wanting holiday houses, often wealthy people from overseas, and the prices just went through the roof, and nobody who worked there could afford to live there. And then they moved to Arrowtown, and then that became enormously expensive. And there was kind of nowhere for people to live. And we were working there, ordinary people who were not maybe making vast sums of money, but just working in cafes, working in shops. There's a huge need for that here, because there are very few flats around the place that people can rent, and the prices are high. So if we don't supply places for those people to live, they will have to move away. And then the shops don't have anyone to employ. The school doesn't have children coming along to fill up schools, so school's shut. We absolutely need to not make the mistakes that Queenstown and Wanaka have made, and keep a core of affordable housing here for people to live in, people who are going to come here and live and work and raise families, but they cannot afford expensive holiday homes. It also affects the people who buy those holiday homes and come over here and expect to have restaurants open and shops open and all the facilities. They expect to have the fire brigade on hand and all of the other services that we take for granted. But we cannot continue to take those services for granted if the people that run them and man them can't live here. So my strong, and I'm sorry if this is I haven't been to these meetings to know if anybody else has spoken to this, but my neighbour who was going to come and I had a conversation like yesterday about this, that we need to be supplying places for the workers and not high-end flats, just a basic flat that people can rent and live in long-term and send their children to school and feel that they're part of the community. We need those people, and we don't need to be making the mistakes that Queenstown and Wanaka and Arrowtown and all the rest of it have made.
Thank you very
I'd
much.
like to make that point very, very strongly.
Good on you. Thank you very much. Is that just please wait with some questions? I'd like to ask a question,
Yes.
and sort of more of a capsulated and statement question. There has been brought up before about, I think what you're talking about is not so much a social housing as affordable accommodation and housing for people that are working in these tourists. Yes, and we have a seasonal
Yes.
group, and we have a full-time group, and trying to differentiate and understand that is really important as part of the discussion.
Yes.
You know, thank you very much. Anyone else have a question? Yes.
Thanks, Leslie. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that it is an issue in places like that, and it's happened in other places. But just wondering, so would you support a range of uses on the site, or are you thinking mostly residential?
I would think mostly residential. I personally don't buy into the whole climate change and seas rising thing. I think that's the whole con. So I don't know whether to have to move the shops off the other end of town to put them somewhere. I don't know that we need more shops. What we need is accommodation for the people who are working in those shops and people who are, and I would think we need like row housing, have as many people in society as possible, but not necessarily transient. I would have some long-term families. Because I think there's somebody else was doing development of the old Pompalia, and that was for the old Pompalia, but the original Pompalia was building, and that was going to be, I think, as I understand it, for people who are coming here short term. We need something for long term people. People like the painter who lives along the road from me, and they're in a flat, they'd love to have a house or somewhere permanent to live in, raise a family, just people like that all over the place. And I don't necessarily think, I'm not making a call for council to fund this. I think that that maybe with enough people who've got a few assets behind them that could get together as a consortium and do this. 2.5-storey row housing, and right around that site, there's a good development in Peninsula in Auckland, which was done with a kind of a common room, a common area in the middle, with housing right round, and everybody could keep an eye on kids playing in the middle, and the cars kind of went round the outside, and you've got 2 access points off through Bulgaria, off through the road, that could easily just, the cars could wrap round the back, and the people could live in the middle. It was a nice great square in the middle for the kids to play in.
Very good. Well, thank you.
I just,
Sorry. No, sorry, we can't. We can talk to it later. Okay. Moving on, we'll go to the next steps. And ask for Angus and his team to come up and present. You need some more chairs. You might have been chairs for
You just can remind for the stuff. Okay.
Morning. Morning, Angus.
We'll start.
Either way you go, mate. Certainly your own time.
Okay, so we brought forward for you today the next step in the BP Meets project. Just to remind you a little bit of the history, the community board signed off on a process in March 24, and the purpose of this process is to have a clear plan and strategy about what we're going to do with the BP site. And as we heard before, without that clear plan, the site has languished a little bit, hasn't had a lot of attention, doesn't have commensurate budget and the council's long-term plan for its future. So that's why we're here. We're trying to decide exactly what we want to do with the site going forward. So this report follows on from an earlier engagement process we brought in April. And the board asked us, and that narrowed down some short list of options. And I want to reiterate, we're trying to narrow down the process to enable a decision. And the board asked us to go back out and consult the community. We've done that. We've brought back the feedback from the community in that report, and it recommends what we call a managed retention approach. So that is to hold the site so that it can evolve with the future needs of Rākaihautū. And that might mean a number of things. That might mean for climate hazard adaptation. That might mean that the demographics of Rākaihautū change, and we may need more retail and commercial housing. So it's an interim holding pattern that has alongside it a clear strategy management plan as to how the site's going to be used, so that it just doesn't sit there like it is at the moment with nothing happening. So what is that? So we're seeking agreement from the board today that we're on the right track with that management retention idea and the uses that proposes, and that the board also endorses the next round of community engagement, which is similar, which is what was predicated in the process we signed off in March last year. So what does management retention mean in practice, and what have we taken from the feedback from the community? So one is supporting commercial activity on the front of the site, and especially the butcher's shop, and that we have a good strategy and plan around that to take it forward into the future. At the moment, what you see happening today is essential remedial repairs, but we're all cognizant that that building probably needs a bit of refurbishment and a new life to bring it into the future. So So we're sort of saying, let's keep the front third of the farm site near market for that. That in the middle third of the site, we create activities for community activation. So some sort of community space. And then on the back third, either parking or residential development seems to have come out of options that could be available for that. And we talked last time about a small stormwater retreat treatment area on the back water. That's relatively small and will probably in effect look like a bit of landscaping. So as I said, that ensures the site remains adaptable for the long term, but has a good plan and strategy and looks good and is available for the community for what we're saying could be the next 15 odd years. So the next steps for us, if you sign off on this today, would be phase 2 engagement to take place in October and November. And the purpose of that is to check in with the community on these views and the options. Does the strategy sound sensible and reasonable? Does it have good buy-in? Are we on the right track? And then following that, we bring back a report to the board in early 26 for a decision on those future use options. And we, at that stage, we'll bring back the delivery options. So when I'm talking about delivery, it might be, you know, how much money do we need to put in the LTP to upgrade the butcher shop? What's the strategy around that in the lease? How do we activate the middle section of that site for the community? And there'll be a range of ways that could occur. So we'll bring back the options on that and the decision on the back third, whether it's parking or residential, what the options could be for delivery of that. So in that regard, we're mindful of Mother Family's aspirations through Aduku, and we're staying in touch with them. So one option at that stage, if it's residential, could be a partnership opportunity with them. That is detail and information that will be brought back in early 26. So I'll hand over to Hannah and she can talk about the pending engagement exercise between October and November.
Yes. So for the next phase of engagement, we want to make sure that we're balancing that the community have already told us quite a lot about this site, and we don't want to re-litigate. Harry and Victoria both touched on it's volunteer hours and consultation burnout. We're very, very mindful of that. We don't want to create anything that's too time intensive going forward. But also the flip side of that is a genuine want for a steer from the community as to what they want for the site. So if we haven't got it right, we want to know. From the conversations had to date, I do believe that managed retention for future need hits a lot of those commonly discussed community views. But it could come out in the works that there are parts of that that aren't wanted, and that's fine. That's what this next phase of engagement hopes to achieve. And overall, obviously, the goal is to be able to give you, being the board, with a really good steer of community views in order to make a decision on the future use of the site. So we're proposing the consultation to centre around the survey to ask about the plan, whether managed retention is what the community wants, whether we've got the uses in the front 2/3 of the site right, and what they would like for the back third. The survey will be hosted on the Cordero My platform that you will be familiar with hard copies available. And we're anticipating launching the consultation period immediately following the local government elections, with a goal of getting a decision report to you once you've got your feet under the table next year. There was discussion obviously about a community meeting, and if it's recommended that that is the best way to understand community views, and it's always something that we're open to discussing. I think the council staff discussion, response about the community workshops at the Gaiety was from me. And we do typically find that those types of workshops are helpful in order to make sure that everyone's heard. But fully understand that that's not everyone's preference, and that's fine. So mostly a survey, open for feedback on what the detail of the consultation looks like. And if there's anyone in particular you'd like us to hear from, we'd like to do some sort of broad reach campaign that we can then report to you on who's saying what. So if we hear from holiday homeowners, this is what they're saying versus those who live here, versus people outside of the area. So we'll be able to provide that type of breakdown for you. But question, you don't have anything else to say?
Yeah, I'll just add to that, from the Gaiety workshop, we found that really useful because it gave us a firm direction. We all manned separate tables when we regrouped at the end of it. We all actually had some really clear and common themes, which has gone into the recommendations in this report. So that was good, that's great, but we were worried about the volume of representation that was there from the whole community, and that's why we want to have the next consultation phase to be broad reaching, so that we can encourage more people to participate, so that we then get a good indication from a broader section of the community that the outcomes of that workshop and the community views are on track.
Yeah, I think this message is coming through loud and clear that they want that detail in the next, and that clarity and that often outreach in that communication consultation. Yeah. I think the mixture, I think a big region is great, but we'll let you sort that. Is there any questions?
Not really a question, but a comment that we heard before, doing a meeting where a lot of people from the community can be, like a weekend. So, you know, just being a bit more considerate of the people that would come to a meeting. Yeah, being available.
I think understanding what management retention is and what it looks like is very much important. So have you got a resolution?
Can I ask?
Yeah, sorry.
Yep. I just wanted to follow up a few things perhaps that Victoria had said too, because I wonder about them and I figured that you will know the answers. One was, I mean, I would have thought that the heritage status of Aotearoa has been considered, but just quickly, has it?
Yes, yeah, it has been considered. In anything we do, we apply the planning laws. For instance, some expert in that area we've discussed. So yes, that is something that's been considered. It will be considered in anything into the future.
Yeah. I was interested in the small building that Victoria mentioned that was the temporary real estate agent is now used for another use. Is that relevant in opening up the site?
It's something we've thought about. Again, I think it's probably something we'll look at when we bring back delivery options in the new year. At the moment, it seems to be providing a good service and is giving some activation to the site. The site can be opened up and visible with some pathways and activation into the middle third, and still retain that, or maybe that could be moved back into the middle community activated third. I don't know. Those are delivery issues we'll need to work through. But the site could be made visible through with retaining that as well.
Right.
But there's no decisions.
Right. Okay, right, so that's a detail that, as you said, gets looked at next year. Yeah, okay. I think that's probably about all.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question? Sorry, I don't know if this is a good time.
Thank you.
It's hard to hear some of the stuff that's going on, so this may have already been answered. But as far as the survey, is that a written survey, a mailbox survey? How is that going to be distributed? Thank you.
So the plan currently, and this is still like a month and a bit away, so still got some planning to go, but that it would be posted online with hard copies available, library and service centre, probably, but can take feedback on that.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, it's just as far as getting it to the diverse amount of people that we need to get it to. I don't know how we can do that really well that way. I don't know if there is other suggestions around the table that we could put forward about that.
Well, the group meeting seems to be one of the considerations, so we need a group meeting at the again and somewhat different format, possibly. Angus, thoughts?
Well, we're open to suggestions. The importance is to get broad reach and get feedback from as many people as possible.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have computers or Facebook and stuff.
Excellent.
Isn't that in the community over here? They get to understand what is a community with the patch owners, ratepayers, they need a voice too. And to be able to get that reach, it's quite complex out here. I've been involved in the consultation process here, we get 3 or 4 people turn up. I think it was quite amazing to get 20 people down there over two meetings.
Yes.
But that reach is important. You know,
Yeah, I
out
will
on the street.
make sure that if we do run something again, just because it's ratepayer money, and last time, how many staff did we have?
Probably don't need that.
Eight, just to cover all the different specialties and things that we may want to talk about, just making sure that people would show up. So, but if we've had that, then yeah, we can.
And making sure people know what's happening is important.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, any other questions?
How about somebody standing on the corner on a busy weekend?
Yeah.
That's probably
I
staff
think
on a weekend.
Saturdays down here outside at the great place.
Just a
We do.
Yeah.
The market.
Sam and Raymond came over to the market day last time. Was that well attended or?
Weather plays a part. So, in my opinion, it was pretty well attended.
Yeah.
Maybe outside the butcher's shop. If people walk past the body shop and the pub, it's a high density area there on a Saturday. After 11 o'clock, not up to, is that true? Right. No, sorry.
Are we able to ask questions of the staff?
No, not at all, sorry. Sorry.
But we can hang around afterwards.
You can talk to them.
More than happy to. Outside.
Protocol, outside of the- Okay, so what do we got for this resolution? What are we saying? I can't see it. Can we read?
There are 5.
Susie information. So we received the information on the Rural Board BPME site progress and next steps following 7th of April board resolution report. Notes that the decision in this report is assessed as medium significance based on the Christchurch Cities Council significant engagement policy. Agrees, don't understand what that means, but agrees the best potential future land use of the site would be a yet to be determined mix of commercial activity, residential activity, and small stormwater treatment device as per the report, and manage retention for future needs, including the following activities. Temporary community activation space in the middle third of the site, and temporary parking rear third option 1, or permanent residential rear third option 2 on the rear third of the site. 4, instruct staff to undertake phase 2 of the community engagement on the shortlisted potential future land uses as generally outlined in 4.46. Notes that the outcome of the community engagement will be reported back to the community board to finally decide on the future use of the site, along with delivery implementation options to facilitate appropriate ownership and management option in early 2026. Delegates authority to the manager, property consultant, to do all things necessary and make any decisions at the sole discretion that are consistent with the intent of this report to implement the resolutions above. Sounds pretty solid. Should we be mentioning anything about the future consultation on this? Advice?
They're set out on, its next deck 4.46, there's a general outline which is referred to in the resolution.
Right.
Do
they cover what we've just talked about, maybe adding and?
I'll try and quickly paraphrase what I can read. So we're talking about a 4-week consultation process starting mid-October. It's discussed. We introduce this, that'll comprise a survey, which will engage community support, and cover off testing on the right track, i.e. timing and location of each of the shortlisted future potential land uses, including the community's appetite for managed retention. It's intended that phase 2 community engagement involves the community, or provides the community with sufficient understanding, make a decision in early next year. So it doesn't have a blow-by-blow, step-by-step outline of the consultation, but it's as Hannah discussed. So,
and are we comfortable that those voices have been heard without having to add to that?
If you'd like to say the staff to investigate a community meeting, you can, but we will investigate. We will look into that.
Okay.
but
On the
normally
record.
we would work with your board team to come up with an appropriate consultation process. So obviously got feedback that there's a desire for a meeting and maybe some
intense based conversation.
Yeah. So I'm sort of picking up meeting, on-street staff and something over weekends. The general feedback.
If that's fair. All right.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to, so I'm happy to move that resolution. There's a second to talk to. Thank you. Kathy?
Yep.
So is there any more conversation around this? It's important to keep this moving and keep it moving in the right direction.
Yes.
So, okay, so can we have a vote on that, please? All those in favour? So is that you, Joanne, as well? Thank you. All in favour, thank you. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you.
Hey guys, just before you go, we've actually taken a picture of everyone in the room. Is everyone happy that we used that photo? For publishing purposes?
Is anyone not happy?
Anyone not happy?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
vacated the room, please.
Sorry. So we just close the session, we'll go here. Thank you for those leaving out. Do that here, do that here, do that here, please, here, all right, thank you guys, we're just going on fly now.
We're just going to